Hey there, restaurant pros. It's David Scott Peters, and welcome to the Restaurant Prosperity Formula podcast. For over 2 decades, I've been guiding restaurant owners to success with the proven principles of something I call the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. I originally created the formula based on the daily practices of the most successful restaurateurs I coached, and it's now the foundation of what I teach restaurant owners like you so you can achieve success. What do I mean by success? Success is a restaurant owner who dictates the terms of their life and their bank account instead of their restaurants dictating those things for them. Success is a restaurant owner who has freedom from the restaurant and the financial freedom they never thought possible. How you define success is up to you, but I do know the way to achieving it is using the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. This season, I'm diving even deeper into the core elements of the formula: leadership, systems, training, accountability, and taking action. Along with my insights, you'll hear from special guests, industry experts, and inspiring success stories for fellow restaurant owners who've turned their businesses around and found their definition of success. In this episode number 130, we'll be doing a segment I call Flip the Table, where a member takes over and interviews me. Today, my interviewer is a longtime restaurant pro and owner, Bob Cady. For the past 20 years, Bob has owned the Coug in Pullman, Washington, and opened the Land restaurant 5 years ago. In our group meetings and on calls, Bob is known for bringing incredible insights and advice. And after more than a year of trying to get Bob to do this for us, the day has come for him to be the guy asking me the questions. Listen in and see what unique perspective Bob brought to the interview. Let's get started. But first, a word from our sponsor. If you run an independent restaurant and you're still tossing money at random social media posts hoping something sticks, stop. My friend Matt Plapp and his team at America's Best Restaurants have cracked the code. Their programs don't just get you likes, they drive actual sales. Whether you need new customers, want to win back lost ones, or just get your regulars to spend more, ABR's got a proven system for it. No fluff, just butts and seats. If you're ready to stop guessing and start growing, book a meeting now at business.americasbestrestaurants.com. No BS, just results. Bob, I want to thank you so much for doing this because I've been after you to get on a podcast with me for a long time, so I'm thrilled to have you.
It's good to be here. It's been at least a year that you've been hassling me for this.
A long time. It's a long time. So now, so people understand who you are. You've been a member for years with me. You've also known me in my old company. In fact, at one point in time, I think it was right during COVID or towards the tail end, you gave me a call and you're one of 2 people that I said, no, you don't need me. And you're like, no, I do. And so, because you are a seasoned restaurant pro, and so it's interesting your perspective of why you would get into a coaching program and what the benefits are. Because again, on a side note, I'm going to tell people I've been after you to get on my coaching team at some point in time, but you've got your own aspirations and dreams and own little empire to deal with. So why don't you tell people a little bit about you and your restaurants?
Well, my name's Bob Cady. I am located in Pullman, Washington. I've operated the Coug in Pullman, Washington, owned and operated for the last 20 years. And the last 5 years, I've had another restaurant across town called The Land. And prior to moving back to Pullman, I've worked through college and whatnot with random places, resorts, Hayden Lake Country Club, north of Coeur d'Alene, golf club at Newcastle, just outside of Seattle, Fairmont Hotels and Resorts, Hyatt Regency, and kind of just did a little bit of everything from back of the house to front of the house management, and had everything from managing the Kitty Hill food at Sun Valley to managing 3 restaurants and a bar for Hyatt with like 60 some employees. And so the whole range, the whole gamut, back of the house, then moving to front of the house, resorts, country clubs, business hotels, city center hotels, and then ended up back at a small college bar in Pullman, Washington.
Well, which is home, been home for a long time. And I want people to understand, I'm not just fluffing you up and saying, I've been after you to come on and coach. We've had the discussions. You're busy. but we have a joke or ongoing joke that I made a T-shirt that is, WWBCD, which is what would Bob Katie do? So just so we're clear, like, you are a top-notch operator. So I'm really excited about this segment called Flip the Table, where you're going to interview me. And let's see where it goes. It's yours. Rock and roll.
Sounds good. So I would like to, instead of let's get to know David, because that's what everybody does. And we've done a few of these, and most people, if they're watching this one, have watched multiple episodes.
Yeah.
I'm interested in your experience and the thousands of restaurant owners that you've coached and interacted with and know. What are the mindset things that tend to trip people up the most? For your old company, you were very, very, very systems heavy, system software. This is what we're doing. This is how we get you there. And you went through, in your last Flip the Table, I believe you were talking with Jeff Fitter.
Yep.
And you guys talked about your heart attack and whatnot, and the mindset shift that you went through. And now things are more mindset, and here's access to the tools and how to use them, but let's talk mindset. And I know that that tends to be the real issue. And I'm curious, in your experience, what the key mindset issues are and the most frequent ones that really determine long-term success.
Yeah, I think the ones that get in our way most of the time is the mindset, number one, of what a fixed mindset person would be. And those are people I probably never work with because they don't want help. It's the government's problem or their fault. It's my vendor screwing me. My employees are idiots. Every customer's a Karen. Like it's out of their control. All the problems in their world were created by somebody else. They can't fix them. And oh, by the way, they're the same person that is saving $15, $25 an hour flipping a burger because they're short-staffed because nobody wants to work for them. They have terrible customer service. They've got low sales. They've created this nightmare for themselves, and that's probably the number one thing in our industry that kills most independents. They think I got to do it all myself, and it's everybody else's fault. 99.99% of the people that work with me will never be those people because they're not looking for help. They think they know it all, and nobody knows it all. I don't know it all. You don't know it all. We know an awful lot, but they get stuck. The real change is when you realize you don't know what you don't know. And in the Mastery Plus group that you're a member of, it's filled with people who are like, I always want to learn. Give me the next hottest book, the next way to coach people, the next marketing idea. Like, you're always looking to grow. You want to be excellent. So I think one of the biggest things when we start to talk mindset is you have to have a growth mindset, which means it's my fault and I can outlearn it. I can fix it. I can outwork it. I can outspend it. I will find a way. You always have this optimism that tomorrow is going to be better. But the reality is that you sit there and go, I don't know everything. I have got to gather information. And I think we talk about it in the Restaurant Prosperity Formula that not only do you all have a propensity to learn, you've learned that if you know it all, you're stuck again. You have to share with others. And so I think it's that ongoing learning and sharing part is what sets successful restaurateurs apart from the people that go, oh my gosh, it's somebody else's fault. Because like you talked about, the same systems are involved. But if you get in your own way, this shit's not going to happen. It really comes down to you. In fact, I'm going to chase a squirrel. I was on a call with a potential new member literally before this call. And Ryan James, our solutions coach, has already walked her through a discovery call. She'd been following me for years, wanted to try and get to a point where maybe her restaurant was different. It was catering and a retail store and so on. And I got on the call to go, okay, you want to find out whether I've experienced this before. And I understand that we all think that our restaurant's different, so on and so forth. But I flipped it. I literally flipped it and said, it's really not about me. The systems are the same. It's whether you're going to do the work, whether you're ready for the message. And I think that translates into the mindset part is, I'm not the savior. I just have great information and systems that are proven to work. I'll kick you in the ass to make sure you work. But if you don't have the mindset that you want to do the work, it's not going to change.
So with that, because I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And I know my journey to that point was brutal. It was steps, baby steps towards getting to the point where it became, all about mindset, and systems are just systems are systems.
Right.
You use them or you don't. If you use them, they're going to work.
Yep.
If you don't use them, they don't work. And getting past that issue with implementing systems and getting past all the distractions and things like that, for me has been the biggest part. When we did that first call about coming onto your new system, programming, whatnot. And I think I even reached out to you when you were still in your non-compete era, writing your book originally. Like, I tracked you down. I was like, hey, what's going on? And in that discussion, my main point for why I needed to do this is because I was so far into burnout that I didn't even know what burnout felt like anymore. And that's what got me to really 100% change my mindset. And that, and the book, The One Thing, the first half of the book deals a lot with willpower. And it talks about, where are you spending your energy and where are you spending your time? And I've really shifted a lot into everything costs money. And if I let this person take my willpower, then I'm screwed. I'm not going to make it through the rest of the day. I'm not going to accomplish anything. I started that with, am I going to wash dishes, or am I going to do this? Am I going to take out a loan, go into debt, buy an expensive dishwasher, or am I going to hand do this? Am I going to deal with it? And when you start, for me, moving to a mindset of my time is money.
Yeah.
And I'm going to pay for that dishwasher, whether I pay for it with my time or I pay for it with dollars, and I get that time back. For me, that was kind of the applying that back into the willpower aspect was the second half of it. And that came through, again, being so ridiculously burnt out through, every once in a lifetime event you could consider in my career, 9/11, the Great Recession, our local football recession here in Pullman, that we went through in the early 2000s, right around the same time, and then COVID. And, I hit that point where I was like, okay, it's time. This isn't worth worrying about. That's not worth worrying about. Only these things that move the process forward. What are, in your experience, what are the things that are most likely to move somebody over the hump? I mean, growth mindset is a broad term. It's a broad term. Being stuck happens, but what aspects of a growth mindset do you think are the most important? If you're gonna say, okay, well, something's got to change, where should I start?
The reality is it's almost backward. At that point in time, when you're at your lowest point, when you're so frustrated that you have to do something different, is kind of the deal. It's almost as if you've hit rock bottom, whether it was you being burnout, whether it's today with inflation and high minimum wage and costs going up, that somebody goes, oh my God, where's my freaking profits gone? Or I've been a prisoner to the business. I've worked my restaurant for 20 years. I don't have a life. I really got into this because it was supposed to give my family freedom, and it's a lack of that completely. I think most people hit this wall that goes, I can't do it anymore. It's even, I've got people that have been following me I've been doing this. I'm in my 23rd year. I'm the OG of restaurant coaches. I was the first. I've got people who've been circling for 23 years that are just now coming in and going, hey, I think it's time. And that's okay. You can't make somebody ready for the message until they're ready. And I cannot remember the book that Steve Eller talks about is when the student needs the lesson, the teacher appears. I cannot remember where he got that from, but that's kind of what happens. I can't make you, let's go, let's change things, let's make life better. Who the hell are you? You're a crazy bastard. But if I go, man, I need help, I'm done with this, and I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to do something different, that's really the trigger. For some people, it's a little bit of pain. For most, it's damn, I am so frustrated. I need to do something different. And it's sometimes desperation, and it's sometimes just there's got to be a better way. But I think that's where it comes down to. You're just so sick and tired of the same shit. And you've been doing, the Albert Einstein definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting a different result. And you finally wake up one day, and I always add to it, how's it working for you? You start looking at it going, this sucks. I've got to change. And I think that's really the beginning of the mindset change. You can be a positive person, but you can let the restaurant business tear you down. And it's when you finally go, I got to make a different thing. I'm ready to change, I think is the big thing.
Yeah. And I'm known for having all sorts of weird little quips about different things. And one of them is, if you want something to change, you have to change.
Yeah.
If you want something different, then you have to do something different. And, for me, when we went to your old company, when we first moved to that, it was, we expect sales growth, and I can't bootstrap it if we're doing double the sales. We can do it now, but we can't do it then. Do we wait until we get there and try and hold on, or do we just make the move?
And that's that entrepreneurial spirit of sometimes we just go fire, ready, set, aim. Like we wait. Perfect is the enemy of getting anything done, right? Oh, I've got to wait for it's like, no, frickin', I just got to do. And whether it's I've got to increase sales, and let's start trying something. If I need to decrease costs, then let's just start trying something. Even if it's a bad decision, at least you're doing something different.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen restaurant owners who struggle with mindset get success by going to therapy?
Yeah.
By just trying.
That is a great question. And so let's kind of talk about it in a couple ways. Number one, I've been doing this so long, and I work with independents primarily, very few franchises in this system. Like if I had one or two a year, that's a lot. So that means there's a lot of families. There's a lot of dysfunction, from matriarchs to children and grandchildren to patriarchs and brothers and sisters. And we've seen feuds where restaurants split. We've seen divorces. We've seen it all. And sometimes as my team becomes brand new again, and in the beginning, learning that when we coach people, sometimes we get into some personal issues. That sometimes we're marriage counselors. Sometimes we're therapists. Sometimes we're these things that people need an ear. But what has been fantastic with COVID, what good came from COVID, was that mental health became okay to talk about. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm about to be 59 years old. We didn't talk about mental health. And growing up in the business, we had mental health issues throughout the restaurant industry forever. But what did we do? We self-medicated. We drank. We took drugs. We did debauchery. We overate. We stayed out all night. We did all these things to avoid the shit we need to deal with. And as a restaurant owner, when you've got your own heaviness and you start to get depressed and you start to do these things that tear apart your family and tear apart your self-esteem, all these things, it's okay now to say, I'm going to get counseling. Because if you don't have your mindset, as we started this, if you don't have your own mental inventory all in a nice place, it's really tough to lead a team. And so I think that's a really insightful question. Whether we do it as coaches, there's a bit of having a shoulder to lean on. Mm-hmm. But if you really need some help, it's important to go out and get counseling. And it is not unusual for us to have a member go, hey, I just met with my counselor, so on and so forth. And openly, it's okay. It's great because they're also in the group, which means they're working on changing their life and their business. They're just taking all aspects, because if you don't take care of your mind and your soul, who cares what the systems do? You're just going to be a crappy leader.
Yeah. And I find, for me, my approach, and I think it's a similar approach for a lot of independent restaurant owners, is I would just work more.
Right.
Because I don't have to deal with it if I just keep working. Then it's like, whatever. You're depressed? Nope, just busy. And that has been something that's been, again, also very helpful for me to get through, because I I didn't just figure out how to do things. I screwed everything up and learned in the process. Like the most expensive master's degree you'll ever get.
And what doesn't help is, you and I have 30 plus years experience in this business, which means we were taught old timers, which means work harder, work longer, more valuable you are. And it's bullshit. And because I know for a fact, I only survived the Hyatt for 3 months. You did it for years. The fact is they owned you. Like if you were in food and beverage, you want time off? No.
I'd never felt more like that in the restaurant industry than when I was running the four outlets for Hyatt.
I don't doubt it.
It was nuts. But, I learned a lot and it was very valuable. I didn't quite make it 2 years. I was like at like 1.8. I was like, this has got to change. This has got to change. And the main reason was mental health and balance and whatnot was the main reason that I wanted to look at making that change.
And because you and I did those in management roles, this is important. We're talking about the restaurant owner and their mental health. Hey, owners, you need to pay attention to your team. Like we have to have our ear to the ground and we have to make available resources for people, but especially your management team, because they're your daily leaders. And if they're in the downy dumps, if they're doing the debauchery, it could not only destroy your business, could end up being a lawsuit. But if there's a human being that with a little nurturing, a little support could blossom.
Yeah. And just learning to, breaking out of the role of you can't ask for help for things.
Right.
And as owners, we tend to bootstrap far longer than we should ever bootstrap things, and even in the mastermind group, there's people that are still trying to run things like they did when it was one shop that did half the sales. And now they've got 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think for me, that's part of the mindset as well is it doesn't, no offense, it doesn't have to be the program, but it has to be an understanding of, it can't just be you all the time. And eventually you just get too far down into things to know even where you're at.
And that's an important thing. You threw it out there kind of, it doesn't have to be me. No, it doesn't have to be me. When I started, there was Jim Laub at restaurantorder.com doing a member site and me. Otherwise, there were marketing guys, and I think that's how we got in contact. There was Rory Fatt, and there was Cameron Carrington, and a couple other people. There was nothing. It was in the infancy of coaching and what was deemed information marketing back 20-something years ago. Today, you're bombarded with ads on social media. Like if you get a pixel dropped in on me, you're seeing me every day. If you're on Instagram or Facebook, oh, God bless you, I'm within the first couple things you see. But now there's like 5, 6, 10 other coaches that are hitting that same feed on you. And the reality is this: you need to find the person that you connect with. I'd like to think we're the best. That's just my nature. I'm always striving to improve. I think in the time that we've worked together in this company, you've seen change after change after change after change because we're always trying to become better. But the fact is, I'm not the right cup of tea for everyone. Like if you're not willing to look in the mirror and have me go, hey, it's your fault. Let me help you and let me shake you and say, let's move it. I'm not going to play like a TV chef and, yell and scream, but I'm not going to let you get away with it's somebody else's fault. Well, if I'm your right type of tea for you, that's what you want, then I'm the right guy. But if you're soft and you need somebody who's going to be more nurturing and loving and wonderful, go find another coach. But the reality is there is somebody for you today, right? If you need the help, whether it's the counselor or it's the restaurant counselor, if we put that hat on, there's somebody for you. And it is okay to ask for help. And that's a misnomer in our business. I think when you and I went up in the restaurant business, other than maybe the Hyatt that would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for consultants to come in and fix something, most independent restaurants, if you said, I'm getting coaching, I've got a consultant, I did something, they'd be like, what, you don't know how to run your restaurant, another restaurant or to another, which is so fixed, so old school. It's like how could you ask for help? Which is crazy. When you see that you get that little bit of help, I always call it you buy speed. Maybe you could do it on your own and take you 6 years, but maybe I get some help and I'm done in 3 years. But along that journey, I'm getting there faster and I have support, and you grow. And I think that's important. Again, a part of that mindset thing we started with.
Yeah. Going back to something you said earlier, you mentioned when you get on the initial calls with people,
Yep.
and we've noticed it in our group calls before, that the tendency to think that, but my restaurant's different, and I know I pissed some people off in the group because I have another saying that is, the business of your business isn't special. The special part is something else.
Yep.
How you take inventory, how you count a till, how you do orders, how you do HR, it shouldn't be special, because if it is, there's something wrong. There's a way to do things that is the way you do it when it comes to, because if you have to pay taxes, you have to follow labor laws, you have to do these different things. And I feel like we get caught up lying to ourselves about what's special about our business, and putting that effort into the wrong areas. And then that becomes a roadblock. And I don't know if that's one of the things that you run into a lot, or
I don't know about a lot, but yes, run into it often. And that is this, like, again, my restaurant's different. My joke is always, what do you serve with a limp? Like, you have people, you have product, that's it. Whether it's an internal or external customer, it's hospitality, it's food, it's beverage, it's a great dining experience, it's hospitality, that's the magic. But guess what? Doesn't matter. David Militello, one of our coaches, a good friend of mine, was my first 5 members ever, old company, and we've known each other now for 20 plus years. And he had 3 different restaurants and a catering business at one point in time, an event space. And one was a seafood restaurant at the time, one was an Italian restaurant, one was a little bar, one was a steakhouse with a facility next to it for events. He could put a manager from one location to the other. They may not know where the salt and pepper lives, but they knew how to run the POS system. They knew how to do the nightly numbers. They knew how to run the checklist. They knew how to make sure customer service is right. They knew what the seating system was. It's the same system. So what it means is the envelope of your restaurant may be different. What kind of service you have, what it looks like. But operating a restaurant, it's the same damn stuff. It's repeatable. It's the same damn systems inserted to any restaurant. It works. And so, no, your restaurant is not different. Now, your unique selling proposition, what makes you unique may be different, but that's the envelope. That's not the guts of running a business.
Yeah, and I think we get too caught up on it's not just the atmosphere, the envelope, that it's everything else. And I know I've been there. I almost put my business out of business thinking like that, and came really close. And it was definitely a scary time, but realizing that it was like, that's not what it is. It's,
do you know what
this
goes
is the thing that's important.
Do you know what goes along with that? Is that control issue. When you think your restaurant is so different, it's because of you, then you stifle everything. Every decision has to be made by you. You go through a rotation of managers because they're tired of just being, babysitters are the idiots. They don't learn how to run a business. Everything's got to be done by you. When if they bring up something, it's wrong because it doesn't match your idea, because you haven't learned to share your idea. You haven't shared your why. You haven't told people what you want done, how well you want it done, by when. Like, you're just kind of, you're it. You're the glue. You're imposing your will because you're there every day, and people don't want to try or think anymore. They kind of go hand in hand.
Trying to think of the next branch off. We'll do this. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I do.
We'll flip it back.
I do, because you just kind of walk through the fact that you got to a point where you were burnt out. What made you reach out? Because again, we knew each other from my old company for I want to say 15 years or so. Like we've kind of touched early, or was it even longer?
Well, I was with the old company for, I want to say it was 4 or 5 years there, but we had touched base a lot in the time prior to that
Right.
before I signed up with the old company. Yeah. But it's
Yeah.
been quite a while.
A long time. And
Yeah.
I put you in again a class of restaurant owner that at some point in time I'm going to rope you into and you're going to become a coach for me. You just don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So you're a seasoned guy. Like, we joke around about what would Bob Katie do, but the fact of the matter is, when you're at a Mastery Plus meeting, when you're on one of the group coaching calls, what you bring to the table, people listen because it's good. It's sensible advice. It is principled. It is proven to work, and you're really good at it. Yet you called me up and said, I want to join membership. And I can remember, I don't remember all the details except for, Bob, you don't need me. Like, literally, like, don't give me your money. You're like, no, here's my fucking money. I'm like, no. And you talked me into it. Why would somebody who has that kind of experience want to reach out and bring a coach and a program in when, for all intents and purposes, I don't know how much I've actually taught you? You know just as much as I do. So why?
So the reason is it's twofold. It's the old, you're not an expert in your own house, in your own backyard, or whatever that saying is. It's not one of my regular ones, but to get the person who has established themselves as an expert to corroborate what I'm trying to get my employees to understand is a big part of it. It's a really big part of it. And just the social credit of having that goes a long way. The other part of it is in my market, not everyone thinks the way I think. And it's a very small market. It's a college town market. It's heavily isolated from other smaller towns. Like, if you want to go to the next real competing town, you're going to go to Spokane. So you're going to go an hour and a half north, and there's literally nothing in between. It's wheat fields. It's just wheat fields. It's not like when you say, oh, it's a small college town and an hour away there's 2.5 million people. That's not where we're at.
Right.
So having an outlet, and again, it came down to, for me, for mindset, having a group that I could talk to people about questions and not feel like I'm just talking to a wall, and I'm not just talking into the void, and then I'm not crazy, because there are a lot of things where, in my head, for whatever reason, how I look at it, the idea of spending $150 for a subscription that I don't personally use, but my employees will use, that then saves me X number of hours a month, or distractions, or whatever. Because I'm a person that if this is where my mind's at and you ask me a random question, then I'm 30 minutes to get back to where I need to be once I'm done dealing with your question. I tell my employees, if I'm in a marketing mindset and you ask me a question about operations, give me 5 minutes to switch, but then I just have to drop the marketing stuff and do it some other day, because I'm never going to get back into that mindset. And joining the group and going with the program brought that credibility in, that I'm not crazy in a small isolated market where all of my employees have under a year experience, because we're hiring 21-year-old college students. Their experience with going out and going to taverns legally is minimal.
Right.
So they see one thing and they look around and see different things, and you see a lot of the perception of this and the perception of that. And then when they come in and they work for me, they are confronted with something that appears completely different from what they believe to be real. And getting them to buy into that aspect, I need more social credit for it. And with the program, that brings it in, having new employees jump through a few things, but having new managers, prospective managers read the books. Here's a stack of books. Now we've added the EOS stack to the stack of books.
Yep.
And I'm making Amazon a lot of money ordering books on and on and on and on and on and incorporating them, but shifting not just my mindset, but my employees' mindset, my managers' mindsets, so that everything becomes a question of, do we have the resource? Do we, we're not reinventing things. There's nothing that we've reinvented. We're borrowing, we're learning, we're going through the process. And again, getting into the program was the part that offered that extra support, that to where it really felt like, I'm not on my own. I'm not on my own here. I'm not crazy. I have a really good friend in our market that owns a number of restaurants and works for the hospitality school. And we bounce ideas off each other at different times. And it's almost always the same thing. Hey, minimum wage went up. We're in Washington. So at one point it was like $2.70 in 1 year.
Yeah.
And we're on a call and we're just like, hey, just hear me out. Am I crazy, or is this the math? We have the same degree in hospitality, business management. You teach in the school. We own most of the restaurants in town. But this is such an egregious jump that I'm still wrapping my head around how much we have to raise prices. And then having go, I did the same thing for 20 minutes, and that's 100%. I even checked against our curriculum. And that's the math, and I was like, okay, cool. But there's only one guy.
Right.
And I can't always be hollering at Jim. So that's, for me, that's the reason. And again, it comes down to mindset. It comes down to mindset, because I do understand the systems, with my background, the number of places I'd worked prior, the variety of the places I'd worked, coming from back of the house to front of the house, corporate, independent, you name it. There's a lot of stuff that when I bought my own restaurant, I didn't have to figure out, because I already knew it. I'd studied it in school. I came from the corporate side. I knew which few things to watch to keep things basically on track. And so I didn't have a lot of the issues that most new restaurant owners run into, like recipe costing cards and things like that. Like I signed up for Jim Loeb's stuff in 2003 or 4, something like that.
Yeah.
And I've been mining. I still mine. I mean, the National Restaurant Association owns it now.
Right.
But I still mine their database of stuff for, alternate articles and whatnot. And there's an old school, Excel spreadsheet for recipe costing cards that is still floats around my computer. And when we don't want to put it in a margin edge, I pull it out and I'm like, here you go. Here's a copy. Do it the hard way. And we'll figure it out. If you want to just run quick ones and you don't want to enter anything, then we can do it this way too. But yeah, so I skipped a lot of the real problems, but the mindset stuff just takes forever.
And it's harder to deal with, because I can teach anybody to count out a bar drawer. I've got a system for it, step by step. I can teach anybody to go through the basics on what makes great hospitality. But I can't make you change your mindset. I can't make you say you're going to be a happy person. I can't put you in a position that it's okay to ask for help. But like that's the core root to everything. The systems part is easy. I appreciate when you said you're never an expert in your own backyard, because I was the chief operating officer of Famous Sam's. As a franchisor, people were paying us 7% monthly gross sales and then 2% for marketing. So 9% of their sales into a franchisor, and they're like, stay out of my damn restaurant. I don't want that, you corporate bastards in my place. When I put the company and it was going to be purchased, in my last 3-4 months, I did more one-on-ones with anybody, because all of a sudden it was like I knew what I was talking about, because I was no longer the parent. I was on my way out. Now all of a sudden people, like, you've been paying me for years to come in and help you. You're like, stay the hell out. And now I'm leaving, and you're like, can you come in? Can you come in? Can you come in? And that you're never an expert in your own backyard is so true. You're the parent. Like, how many times as an adult, you look back and you go, man, my parents were actually pretty damn smart when I was a kid. But when you were a kid, you're like, you don't know shit. And that's kind of the restaurant business. That's your employees are like, who are you? You're just my boss. No, you actually know what you're talking about. And so when you get the corroboration, and you're really good at it in the sense that you invest in your people, not only in the program, but you bring them to the seminar. Like, damn near every seminar, do it twice a year. You've got a contingency that's sitting there and getting wound up because they go, and you tell me if I'm wrong, when they come back, they go, I get what you're saying now. Holy yeah, let's go do those things.
Yeah, everything makes a lot more sense, even if it's said the exact same way by somebody else.
Yeah.
It's that, John Taffer is like almost a running joke at this point with the bar rescue and whatnot. And I used to like to watch the show. It's harder to get now because I don't have cable and whatnot. But there's like little gems. The first 3 seasons, there's little gems in every episode. But the thing that never gets old is the people that beg for help, that sign up, have someone come in, put up a bunch of cameras, and then are like, oh my God, what is going on? when he walks in the door and they argue with him, and you're like, I don't understand. Like, and for me, that's the thing that's like, until it's somebody else, until somebody is on their way out, a lot of times we don't think about it.
Yeah.
We don't think about it at all. Okay, so I'm going to go give you like one last question.
Okay.
Here. As someone who deals with mindset a lot and goes through a lot of book recommendations, if somebody is trying to get there, they're not there, but they're interested, they're like, what's a baby step that I can take? Do you have a couple book recommendations that you could give to help them out?
What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, oh man, I need to look. It's behind me somewhere. Habits. What are we talking about? We're talking about
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Thank you very much. I was just completely blanking. This is what happens when you get old. Atomic Habits is probably the easiest read, and one of the things that I think can make a huge difference to somebody easily. It's just setting yourself up for success. It's, for instance, many of you have been following me, listening to us right now, know that I was a rower in high school. I was a scholarship athlete in college, and I've took 34 years off and have been rowing competitively now for 4 years. And I've traveled to Germany and England, Canada, US, like I'm all in or nothing. But it took a while to get my ass from, being, well, out of shape, overweight, unhappy with myself to that state. And a part of what they talk about in the book is there are certain things we need to do in our life. Setting up habits that move you forward. It's kind of like that little change that you make. He does something in the book that says, if I take off on an airplane in Miami and I'm off 1 degree, instead of going to New York, I end up in Dallas. Like, it's just that 1 degree. If you're off and you continue down that path, you're further away from where you thought you were going to be. Your goal is gone. And so things that are easy is, one, if you got a TV in your bedroom, get rid of it or don't turn it on. That's a place for sleep. Mm-hmm. If you are an entrepreneur and you're taking your phone everywhere and your laptop and you're on the kitchen island and then you're in the kitchen table and then you're in your bedroom and then you're working, you're never going to turn it off. You need to create an office and go, when I work, I'm in there. When I leave, I don't do work. If for rowing, in my case, was setting myself up for success in the morning. Water bottle ready. I had my stroke coach, which is a thing that's a little electronic piece that tells you how fast you're going, all these things for rowing. I had my shoes for rowing. I had all the things necessary that were ready to go on the washing machine on my way out the door. So I didn't have to scramble and forget I didn't have socks. I didn't have this, that, the other. But I set it up the night before. Because why? It sets me up for success. And it's those little things. If you could start little habits that change will eventually change your trajectory. It'll make you feel better about yourself. You'll accomplish things. I joke around that I'm undiagnosed ADHD, and I think most entrepreneurs are, especially if we're old. We didn't ADHD. What the hell's that? You know, that you got a problem. No, it's real. And the fact of the matter is, creating those habits let us keep our brains on track and get shit done. So I think that's probably the book where I would start. It's because you're shifting your mindset by getting little wins.
Mm-hmm. For me, the big one was because Atomic Habits is great. The big one for me was the one thing, and it kind of fed into one of my pre-existing tactics that was kind of a running joke in the group about my brightly colored sheets of paper.
Yeah.
And and strict rules for vendors and things like that. Guarding my time and avoiding distractions and things like that. But the one thing and the emphasis on willpower, and because we think of everything else, but we don't think of the drains on the willpower and how that affects our ability to be productive the rest of the day and be positive and be good leaders in the business.
Yeah, on the willpower side, that's kind of why the group is so important, whether you're in the RTF, RTI, or Mastery Plus group. A group setting with restaurant owners with like mindsets kind of goes to the whole idea of masterminding. If you surround yourself with like-minded people, different skill sets, they keep the fire lit under you. When we're entrepreneurs on an island, it's hard to create those habits. It's hard to stay motivated, to make sure we're disciplined and get things done. When you've got to answer to others, when you want to show up to one call or a meeting and you want to show up and say, I did something, it really helps also to have those ears, that you're not alone. Somebody can keep you on pace. That's why back in, for so many years, things like Weight Watchers were so important for people. Like, you know what to do, but it's sometimes those group meetings, it's having somebody to listen to and so on, kind of just keeps you propped up and moving forward.
I don't have any more questions for you about this topic. Happy to answer another one from you if you have more for me.
I think just one question, and then we'll button it up. As somebody who shares often with our other members, what do you find that you gain from either sharing or being part of the group that is that little bit of magic that keeps you coming back every time we have a meeting, every time we have a call? What is it that you gain from that situation? So
deep down for me, I have always operated under this idea, this principle that my success relies on my employees' success. And being able to see people that I like and I care about and I work with be successful and move forward. And anything that if I can help, if I've experienced it, if I've been through that already, or if I've already made that mistake and grown from it, and I can help you find your success, to me, that's incredibly rewarding. And, it's in the culture of my businesses, it's foundational that my job is not to tell you what to do. My job is to give you the resources and support you in your success. Because if my bartenders make money and my kitchen guys make money and my managers make money, I'm going to make money.
Right.
And if they're happy and they're successful and they can look back at this job as something that was valuable to them, where they learned something, whether they thought they were learning it or not, then that leads to future success. And for me, that's very important, because that's what drives me. That's the community. That's the thing. That's what really, really, really keeps me in the business. And being in the group and watching, over the last 4 years, watching the success, the post-COVID success, and the struggles come and go, but overall, there's a lot of successful people in the group, whether they view themselves as successful or not.
Right.
And I think that imposter syndrome thing comes in all the time, but that's the main thing for me. is if I've seen it and I've done it and I can help, then I'm going to say something, and hopefully it helps, and hopefully it's not just a rant. But again, like I didn't get this way by reading a bunch of books and figuring it out. I made all those mistakes.
Yeah.
Like I was lucky to have a very resilient restaurant a number of times, and went through all the different issues. The mistakes I avoided were things like Groupon.
Yeah.
I spotted that right off the bat. I was like, absolutely not. This is not positive. This is a plea for help. This is not a program. But otherwise, I've made almost every mistake you can imagine in the restaurant industry. And I've been lucky enough to survive. And if I can see something coming for somebody else, if I can help them, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. That's why I'm going to steal you one day.
That's why.
So that's why I'm going to steal. That's why I'm going to steal you one day.
It'll happen. It'll happen for sure. It'll happen for sure. And I would say it's probably getting closer than either of us really think it is.
All right.
We'll see how things go, but yeah.
Well, absolutely. I look forward to that.
But I'm in the Mastery Plus for life, so I'm not going anywhere.
No, you're not. Bob, I want to thank you for making the time to do this, helping me with it. I really appreciate it. Thought they were great, insightful questions. Hopefully, somebody gets something from it and they take action. Again, whether it's with me, with somebody else, I think the message is you've got to be the captain of your ship. You've got to change your destiny. You're in control. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
Ready to take the next step towards achieving restaurant prosperity, freedom from the daily grind, and the financial success you deserve? Book a discovery call with Ryan James to learn about our group coaching program. Ryan will guide you through how our program can transform your restaurant and help you achieve the prosperity and freedom you've been striving for. Click the link in the description below or visit dsp.coach/talk-to-Ryan to schedule your call now.